Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we've got a couple of Bestech knives, and we've already looked at one of these knives, and we'll do a review on the other one soon. The reason we have some Bestech knives is as we were going through them, I only sharpened two of those knives, didn't have any issues with them, and I sent the rest out to some other reviewers unsharpened, and Aaron and Nick found what may have been some minor problems with the steel. Now, this is not what I'm going to call a huge problem whatsoever. What I'm guessing it was is a bad sheet of steel. Maybe two bad sheets of steel or a bad batch. So we talked to Bestech, and Bestech sent over some new knives. We have a swordfish and a lion. The lion's a new one for us. We'll get to review and all that of it later. And we want to look at the edge, because the edge is the problem that was, it was what was giving people problems. The edge chipping. Now, I want to talk real briefly about that before we get into testing. Edge chipping with D2 happens. It doesn't matter if you are some of my favorite, as far as heat treating D2 being Browse blades and and even Benchmade. Why does it happen? Well, D2 is kind of a brittle steel. D2 is kind of picky about heat treat. And if you get that edge just a bit too thin, or the chemistry, it's also a poured steel. So if the mix for the steel is just a little bit off. Now, what can you do to mitigate it? What I have done many times to mitigate that problem is I will take a knife that is got a little bit of chipping as I'm sharpening it, and I will not go back down to, say, 50 or 80 grit, but I will stay at that 120 grit until I get rid of that chipping. And even while I'm sharpening it, I will take my finger or something. Probably shouldn't use your finger, you might get cut, but I will take my finger and I will run it over the edge of that blade to see if I can get anything else to chip out. Usually what happens is as you sharpen, you get out of that brittle steel and you get into good steel fairly quickly, within a few thousandths. So we're going to put these guys to the test. Right now they have stock edges on them, straight out of the factory, and we're going to start shredding cardboard. And I'm probably going to shred maybe 2 or 3 of these boxes I've got. I'm not going to go overboard because, well, if it's going to chip out, it's going to chip out quick. It's not going to be something that happens on the 8,000th cut. It's going to be something that happens in the first, probably in the first 5 or 10. So that's how we're going to do it. I'll report back on how the edges are doing after 2 or 3 of those boxes. So let's get to shredding cardboard. So there we go. You can see there we cut up some boxes, and we didn't cut up a lot of boxes. We cut up about 3 medium-sized boxes. But I'm yet to see any of that edge damage that Nick was seeing or Aaron was seeing. So the next question, we'll look at the other one. The next question is, why is the end of my thumb so dark? What did I get into? No, that's not the next question. That is a good question, though. But the next question is, what happens if we sharpen this stuff? Because I am seeing, now this is not a bad thing. I am seeing a little bit of what D2 does down here on the end. but you know, some might call it microchipping. What it is D2 turning into a toothy edge, which is what it does. And this is not what was evident in the knives that Aaron and Nick showed me pictures of. Those knives had literal chunks of metal missing. So we're going to sharpen them up and see what happens. Alright, so not the best mirror polish edges I've ever put on, and for those of you that worry about my hands getting dirty, they are way dirty now, so just deal with it. But I did not find any chipping during the sharpening on either knife. This one I think came out just a little better. But I was doing them as quickly as I could because, well, you know, everything's a time crunch. And I'm going to move on. And that was really the test, guys, but we're going to cut up a little bit more cardboard just to see if we get any edge fall off. And we'll go do that and be right back. Alright guys, I know that wasn't a bunch of cardboard, but once again, that wasn't our purpose here. The purpose was not to test sharpness. Our purpose was to test for that edge problem that Stazza and Aaron had come up with. And I saw the pictures, they did have a problem. But as we're about to see here, with these two knives, I did not see a problem, I don't think. We're going to get a close look here in just a minute. If we see anything beyond normal D2-ness, then we'll change our findings. Alright, so I'm going to try here to get this to focus in as close as I can. And I do not see any major chipping whatsoever in this blade. A little bit of stuff down there, but that's not chipping, that was crap on the blade. And I don't have a magnifying glass. I wish I did. If I did, we'd get a close look at this. But what I do have, we'll look at here in just a second. Same thing here. I don't see any major chipping out of the blade. In fact, on this one, I'm not seeing anything. There may be a little D2-ness right in there, but that's not major chipping out. And what do I mean by D2-ness? D2-ness, D2 will turn into over a period of time and use, it will turn into a dang sharp little saw, is what it does. It doesn't hold a fine edge forever. So I suppose we should have done this right after I sharpened them to see where they were then, but I have fairly good confidence in my sharpening abilities, and I'm pretty sure they were sharp. So let's see. Well, we're still, see how, now that was on me. That's the first from here to about here on the blade. See if I can get up there. A little bit of a hitch. Maybe. No, I was imagining it or creating it myself. There you go. That's after a couple of boxes worth of cardboard. And that is still, in my opinion, extremely sharp. Let's get a couple more pieces and we'll look at the swordfish. Now I could tell in cutting that cardboard that the swordfish was not as sharp, but let's see. No, you can hear it. It's not as sharp. Is that me? Yeah, that was me. It's kind of hard to get that long old blade all the way down a sheet of paper, especially when you're having to hold it in weird ways for the camera. And I'm failing at this. There we go. That was all the way down. We'll do one more just to satisfy everyone. That wasn't good. There we go. There you go. That swordfish is still a dang sharp sword. So, guys, what do I think happened? Well, quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, here is exactly what I think happened. D2 is a poured steel. What does that mean? Well, it means it's a steel that can have variances in it. It's actually poured in a foundry. It's not put together with fancy machines. I suppose it is nowadays. But any sort of little thing can go wrong at the foundry. Anything can go wrong in heat treat. And if some of that steel's just a little bit off, it can be very hard to even know it until after you're completely done. I just did that with some 1095. I did a chunk of 1095, heat treated it, and everything was beautiful. So I did several more, heat treated them exactly the same way, same batch of steel, and I got some variants that I wasn't happy with. So that is my opinion of what happened. Bestech had a minor variance in their heat treat, which is going to be kind of hard. They use a vacuum heat treating system. They play by the rules. They do everything the way that you're supposed to, and they appear to be doing a great job. So my guess is that they got a bad few sheets of steel that were just a little off, and whenever they heat treated them, they got brittle. It happens pretty often. How many times has it happened to Spyderco? How many times has it happened to other makers out there? So that's my opinion. We'll see what Nick and Aaron come up with. See if their opinions differ. See if their results differ. Should be interesting. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.